10:25 here in New York. We're waiting on Hillary Clinton. She should be leaving her Midtown Manhattan hotel, headed for another location nearby, and we expect to see her in her first appearance and her first words since her stunning defeat and concession at 3 o'clock this morning. Also next hour, Paul Ryan speaks. The House Speaker in his hometown of Janesville, Wisconsin. We'll have that live for you. And Barack Obama's in the noon hour about 90 minutes from now. So a lot to watch today. Many news outlets, meanwhile, reacting to victory for Trump with astonishment. Huffington Post headline, here it is, Morning in America. Drudge Report, meanwhile, let the people rule. Howard Kurtz, Fox News media analyst and host of Media Buzz, here to analyze and pick up the morsels so far today. Wow.
The shock that you saw on one television set after another as the night went on, as anchors and correspondents realized we were dealing with a potential President Trump, that it wasn't an impossibility, really reflected the magnitude of the misjudgment that went on in this campaign. I'm not just talking about yesterday and a few polls being off and something like that. I'm talking about a year and a half of press corps that was skeptical of Donald Trump, that was hostile toward Donald Trump, and that really
he was hostile toward them.
And that is part of the story. I mean, Donald Trump, who grew up in this city fighting with the New York tabloids, had that mastery of the media. Some people said the media rolled over. Others said people were too hard. There was no question, Bill and Martha, that in the general election that there was 10-to-1 negativity against Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Trump not only fought back against that, I think he benefited from it, because a lot of the people who support him or inclined to support him despise the media, see us collectively as part of the establishment. If he was fighting against us, he was fighting for them.
I mean, you look at some of the storylines here. You look at Donna Brazile. You look at, the things that we saw in WikiLeaks. And the American people got a view of the cabal, many would say, that is the media establishment and Washington, D.C. And it's a pretty cozy circle. And that circle has been busted up.
Way too cozy. It's one of many things that has been busted up by the Trump campaign. But I mean, I remember talking on the air and writing a year and a half ago when people said, oh, Donald Trump wouldn't make it to Iowa, and he was a sideshow, and he would flame out. I said, don't underestimate this guy. And not that I knew that it would happen to this magnitude. And even today, looking at some pretty respected people on the left, blaming the press for not warning us, in the words of one NYU professor, that Donald Trump is a fascist, as if we had somehow not told people everything about it, because they can't come to grips with the fact that Donald Trump won this election fair and square, beat Hillary Clinton in states like Michigan that none of us thought was really possible. So you look for scapegoats, and so for some, it's the press.
I'd imagine there are a lot of viewers watching us right now suggesting that we're out of touch. Perhaps we did not have the pulse on America, trying to figure out what was moving out there and what was not. And oftentimes our correspondents who go to these rallies, Clinton and Trump, and they compare the two, and they say, listen, you go to a Clinton rally in the last month of a general election campaign, and you just don't have the oomph and the energy that you'd expect. And then you go over to the Trump rally in the next county over, and people are climbing off the rafters. And everybody would come on TV, and they'd say the following, Howie: votes don't translate to enthusiasm of crowds that turn out. I think we could differ on that point now.
There is no question that there is something of a bubble in New York and Washington and Santa Monica in terms of the way we look at the rest of the country, and the anger and frustration that we all frankly underestimated. But it's more than that, because when you would have interviews with some of these rabid Trump supporters, some of whom were not politically correct or misbehaved, there was a feeling, I saw this show up in a lot of media reports, that, well, they're a bunch of yahoos, racist, sexist, that's why they like Donald Trump. No, there are some of them may have been, but there are a lot of hardworking and frustrated Americans who want to blow things up in a political system that they see as broken. And Donald Trump, rightly, fairly or unfairly, was their vehicle for that.
And you have to, think about the Trump family. And, every time they went anywhere in the media, they said something's happening out there, and we're going to win. Over and over and over again. They were seeing this on the ground time and time again. And we've all, I think, been sort of trained in our brain to say, but what matters is the numbers, and we're not seeing what you're seeing reflected in these numbers. And I don't think anybody will ever look at those situations quite the same way again.
Yeah, we could be slaves to the polls. Donald Trump took a call this morning, I am told, from one of his longtime confidants, and Trump said, he's the president-elect, world leaders are on a call list. He said, nobody believed in me except a couple of his longtime loyalists. And that is true. This is a guy who had never done this before, came out of nowhere with all this money, and somehow he pulled off this miracle.
It's truly the most stunning political story that any of us have ever covered.
And it's just beginning.
And it is just beginning, as you said last night. Thank you very much, Howie.
Good to see you both.
Good to see you this morning.